first speaker, Dr. Dogra, but he's handed me over his slides, which he just wants me to run over. So I'm just going to go over that very fast, and then we'll move on to the presentations. The relevance of having ROP screening programs now in the community is the fact that middle-income countries like India have seen a sort of big resurgence on this problem. In India, there are 27 million live births, 3.5 million of these are preterm. And with the zones in Southeast Asia, these probably rank more than anywhere else in the world. I see some international delegates as well, so perhaps you all face similar problem in your country as well. The next thing that has moved on, and I'll probably be covering that in the last talk, is the fact that universal screening is now becoming a mandate. From 2013, Government of India says every single live birth has to be examined for 30 conditions, and 2 of these belong to ophthalmology, and one of them is retinopathy of prematurity, which will be covered in detail. But then how do we as ophthalmologists integrate universal screening? So that's something that we'll talk about as well. So let's begin with Dr. Dogra's talk. He's not here. He's given me his talk. And so he basically was probably the author of the first prospective study of ROP in this country. So he's really seen it from 1995. And as we go into the third decade of this problem in the country, we're really asking the question, where were we and where are we now? This is Dr. Dogra with Dr. Lingam Gopal, way back in 1990 when they realized that this is a problem that they need to tackle. They saw it being discussed in the American Academy. They had neonatologists who were trained abroad and who came back and said, we're seeing preterm babies and low birth babies survive, and then suddenly the ophthalmic community had to wake up to do the screening. And that's more recently in the Agra AIOC, and things really haven't changed. Things really haven't changed in the incidence of ROP as well. What they reported as about 38 to 47% in the first prospective study continues to be the same. And I'll just show you a slide where he summarized that. A lot of people have been contributing to the work of ROP practice. RP Center and Dr. Azad have to be mentioned here. And a whole lot of workshops, right down to the one that happened last year with doyens like Michael Treacy, who is considered the father of ROP. So you can see the incidence has really remained between about 28 to 50%. That's about 2 out of 5 babies born preterm are going to have the disease. That's not something that's really nice. And the incidence of treatable ROP has also not really come down. And as you'll see in rural India, it's just as the same. Screening strategies have been quite a failure. And the second thing is we are really looking at heavier babies. Babies who would not have developed ROP in the Western countries are developing ROP in India. And this obviously has to do something about neonatal care, but also in the way our survival is improving in our babies. He has shown some of the work done by different groups. That's his own group in Chandigarh, and then in Hyderabad, and then in Arvind Coimbatore, who are showing peculiar problems of managing this disease. Problems of unmonitored oxygen given in neonatal care centers, and then aggressive posterior ROP, which is believed in the Western scenario to occur only in the tiniest and the smallest babies. But in India, you have 2.5 kilo babies developing AP-ROP. Clearly something going wrong. Parag and his group from Arvind showed that this is commonplace now. This is a very highly cited paper where he showed unmonitored oxygen through the hood. All of us think it's normal to do that, but no preterm baby should be given 100% oxygen. At best, if you talk to them, 30-40% is to be given. But blenders don't exist, and where blenders exist, compressed air does not exist. And you cannot blend oxygen unless you have compressed air. And the 634 neonatal care centers that have developed in this country by the government sector, none of them have compressed air. So that's something really to think about. And then, of course, screening. A lot of us will be covering that, so he's just told me to go over it really fast. And then the fact that senior pediatricians, even now, sometimes deny the fact that ROP is a problem. And if you talk to them, they'll say, I've been in practice for 30 years, but I've never seen a single baby go blind. I think this study really threw that myth out of the window when they showed that more than 80% of babies who turned blind never went to a pediatrician. And that's the reason why they don't see it. His experience in his center has been good, in fact, very good. Some of the highest success rates for ROP laser have come from this country, and there are many theories on why that happens. The most common, popular, believed one is that we are more pigmented race, And being pigmented race, the take of the laser is much faster, and since ROP is a disease where you're fighting time, it's important. There are certain critical papers that he has shown. He has shown how to use green laser, how to do the laser through the incubator wall, and how early surgery also helps. But again, we don't really want to go here, and management of stage 5, even in the best centers, is rather poor. But also important, he wanted to emphasize, is the fact that sequelae are important. But fortunately, this has reduced. The incidence of myopia, as you saw from his initial paper, was close to about 25%, going up to 80% in threshold ROP. But today, because we are treating babies earlier in the ET ROP, this incidence of myopia has come down to single digits. So that's something we really need to be proud of. A summary on why he thought ROP blindness is increasing, and very obvious facts here. And this is where the National Task Force is concentrating on the special newborn care units, as I mentioned, certain infrastructural challenges they already have. So higher birth weight babies, screening still not in everywhere, and integrating this with pediatric services. So this was a brief from Dr. Dogra.